And it worked. Villette part 19 has gone live on the computer that is perhaps not so good, but is an absolute godsend after my laptop broke. And John and Danny drove all the way up from Gore to drop off this interim one. So I'm sorry that the quality's down a little bit, but I am so grateful, honestly. Oh, hello. We've got our first person. Hello, welcome. We're doing Villette again after a really long time. Like, how long has it been? I want to say a month, but it might have been 2 months. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to recap. Hi, Jessie. Nice to see you. We got 2 people. So the basic recap, we'll cover that a little bit closer to the time. People don't really tend to show up until about 6 minutes in. Thank you. This is a replacement, a temporary replacement laptop. So my lighting setup I've done myself, and it's not as good as when literally anybody else does it. But my mic is still really good. It's the one that Evelyn and Di gave me for Christmas. So we've still got the good mic. And the bad cats, obviously. Sorry, I'm coughing a little bit. It's just because I've got allergies and my throat's tickling. 1:30 a.m. You should go to bed. You can watch it recorded tomorrow. Gosh, Chicago. Such a... I don't like to say like a romantic and adventurous place for me, but it is the first place in America that anyone from my family ever went to. My dad went to Chicago briefly for work when I was like 20. So there's this era of mystery and excitement around Chicago, which, you know, like anywhere where people live, I'm sure it's funny to you. Yeah, exactly. It was... Oh, what do you want, madam? I think one of the others is out there. They're not out there. You can go out, Flora. Go on, outside. Go on. Quick. I'm not hating the whole world. I'm live on YouTube. That's right. I will shut the door. Alright. She's so annoying. Okay, that's alright. We're still away from starting. So don't worry about that. Oh god, people are probably watching the news. I sort of picked this time because the sports news usually starts at 6:30. So I'm hoping there isn't some kind of horrific catastrophe. Not that I mind sports, I just don't like watching it on the sports news. They only do rugby and it gets very boring. No offense, rugby. I think she is going to go outside now. Let's see. You actually going to go? Quick. Today we've got more chapters from VILLETTE that we've been doing for ages, and I'm going to try and recap it a little bit. But I think you've been here for most of them. I'm having trouble myself remembering kind of where we're up to and what we're doing because it's been a couple months. But I've got a basic overview I can give you guys. This is the one about Lucy Snow, who is teaching in a school in France. I knew I should have picked something really, fun and memorable like Dracula again. But VILLETTE's just interesting, and I wanted to share it with all you guys. So we're into part 2, volume 2, sorry. Comes in 3 volumes. So there's a lot to recap. We're just going to do a tiny little previously on VILLETTE. And we're not going to do it just yet. Again, if I were a professional, I would edit these videos after I upload them. After I stream them. But, I'm not a professional. Apparently no one has any interest in VILLETTE tonight. Shocking. I've re-familiarized myself with the plot and everything. I'm going to put another reminder up on Twitter. Because I know that sometimes my friends don't see it. I really hope that there's no terrible event. Other than the New Conservatives being a party. They're not really a terrible event so much as just a bunch of idiots. Nope. Incredible. Well, I'm going to give everyone a quick text because I know she sets an alarm, but I haven't been reading at the regular time for such a long time. Just see what she's doing. I'm online. Are you free? Question mark. First 10 minutes, that's when people usually turn up. The first 9 minutes, it's just you and me. Like, that's fine. If you're the only person on the stream, I'll still read the chapter. Don't worry. Or you can choose something else that I could read if you're not into VILLETTE. But oh, opening the computer! Hooray! But it's fun. I should read something that, those. Like, I'm wondering, like, if I wanted to do numbers and be a clout chaser and all of that stuff that I've only actually heard about by people making fun of it, what would I read? And I wouldn't be able to read anything in copyright. But I could read those books that like business excellence guys all like to say that they've read, but they haven't, like The Art of War and The Prince and, you know, all of that. Oh, hey, thank you. It's just whoop and flop. It makes more sense from the back. The Communist Manifesto. I could read that next, actually. That's probably timely. And plus, I haven't read the Communist Manifesto. Although, if right when guys ask if I have, I always say yes. Then I usually make up some nonsense. Okay. Okay, guys. We're back into Villette. It's been a while. I know. So I've done a little recap for myself. Basically, Lucy Snow, she's gone to France teaching at the girls' school. Met this guy called Dr. John, concealed from us, the readers, that he was her godmother's son that she'd grown up with for a few years. Left the school over the break, had nowhere to go, passed out and got sick, got taken into a house which happened to be Mrs. Bretton's house, her godmother. And now Dr. John, aka Graham Bretton, is also living in that house because it's his house. And Lucy is there as well. So in the last chapter that we read, this is volume 2. In the last chapter that we read, Lucy sort of figured out where she was. She's like, oh my god, this is Miss Bretton's house, and these are all the people I know, but they don't recognize me. And then she kept it a secret for a little while because it gives her a weird feeling of power. Lucy Snow has a lot in common with Mark from Peep Show. We'll explore that later, or not at all, depending. And at the end of the last chapter, Lucy goes to bed and she feels that she has friends. She doesn't have close friends, but she feels friendly towards them, and she prays to God that she won't feel any more fondly towards them because she knows they don't feel the same way towards her. Like, she knows they will never be close friends. So she just hopes that her little heart can stay locked up tight, and she wants to meet them amicably, occasionally, rare, briefly, unengrossingly, and tranquil, quite tranquil. Still repeating this word, I turn to my pillow and still repeating it. I steep that pillow with tears, which is really, really heartrending. I think we've all probably been there. Except me, because I only feel cool emotions. I don't feel the love emotion. I feel like, anger, rage, revenge, the enjoyment thereof, revenge planning, revenge, vague desire for. I feel the cool emotions. I don't feel the shitty ones. Right, okay. There. Now we're all caught up and we are ready for Villette. Chapter 17. La Terrasse, or The Terrace. So when she's talking about these struggles, she means the struggle to not put all of your love eggs into the basket of people you know will not keep them safe in the basket. I'm sure there's a better way to phrase that, but you know what I mean. These struggles with the natural character, the strong native bent of the heart, may seem futile and fruitless, but in the end they do good. They tend, however slightly, to give the actions and the conduct that turn which reason approves, and which feeling, perhaps, too often opposes. They certainly make a difference in the general tenor of a life, and enable it to be better regulated, more equable, quieter on the surface. And it is on the surface only the common gaze will fall. As to what lies below, leave that with God. Man, your equal, weak as you, and not fit to be your judge, may be shut out thence. Take it to your Maker. Show him the secrets of the Spirit he gave. Ask him how you are to bear the pains he has appointed. Kneel in his presence and pray with faith for light and darkness, for strength in piteous weakness, for patience in extreme need. Certainly at some hour, though perhaps not your hour, the waiting waters will stir. In some shape, though perhaps not the shape you dreamed, which your heart loved and for which it bled, the healing herald will descend. The cripple and the blind and the dumb and the possessed will be led to bathe. Herald, come quickly. This is, Charlotte Bronte, very, very angry at God. But it's forbidden to say so. Lucy Snow, very, very angry at God, comes so close to saying so. Herald, come quickly. Thousands lie round the pool, weeping and despairing, to see it through slow years stagnant. Long are the times of heaven. The orbits of angel messengers seem wide to mortal vision. They may enring ages. The cycle of one departure and return may clasp unnumbered generations, and dust, kindling to brief suffering life, and through pain passing back to dust, may meanwhile perish out of memory again and yet again. To how many maimed and mourning millions is the first and sole angel visitant, he that Easterns call Azrael? Basically, Lucy is lying in bed being goth as fuck, thinking that people pray to God to be like, hey, why did you make me like this? Because it hurts all the time. And, sometimes an angel will come down and be like, or, a metaphor for God's love or whatever. But for most people, for hundreds and thousands and billions of people, they're going to live and die, and the only angel they ever see is death. The angel of death. Because no one comes and answers their prayers during their lifetimes. Lucy is goth as fuck, and I love it. So anyway, that's what she's thinking. And then I tried to get up next morning, just after this little happy meditation. I tried to get up next morning, but while I was dressing, and at intervals, listening to Evanescence and cutting herself an amazing fringe. I wouldn't know. How old is Lucy at this point? I think she's only like 22 or something. Anyway, I tried to get up this next morning, but while I was dressing, at intervals drinking cold water from the carafe on my washstand, with design to brace up that trembling weakness which made dressing so difficult, in came Mrs. Breton. Here is an absurdity. No, I'm not going to do voices in Villette. Be good though, wouldn't it? She's not old enough to know better, and not like so old that she doubles back to being extremely goth. I would never. Charlotte Bronte come down and haunt me. I don't want to be haunted by Charlotte. I want to be haunted by Emily. I just prefer Emily. I'm sorry. Here is an absurdity, was her morning accost. Not so, she added, and dealing with me at once in her own brusque, energetic fashion, that fashion which I used formerly to enjoy seeing applied to her son, and by him vigorously resisted. In 2 minutes she consigned me captive to the French bed. French bed, like, it's not worth describing. It's a Murphy bed. She also has a Murphy toilet. It's not important to the plot. There you lie till afternoon, said she. My boy left orders before he went out that such should be the case, and I can assure you my son is master and must be obeyed. Presently you shall have breakfast. Mrs. Breton's son is master when she lets him be. I know I've been listening to so much E1. I just finished the whole storyline of Vampire, which is... I got some thoughts on it. But yeah, I've been listening to a bunch of episode 1 while I've been playing it. Presently, she brought that meal. Brought it with her own active hands, not leaving me to servants. She seated herself on the bed while I ate. Now, it is not everybody, even amongst our respected friends and esteemed acquaintance, whom we like to have near us, whom we like to watch us, to wait on us, to approach us with the proximity of a nurse to a patient. It is not every friend whose eye is a light in a sick room, whose presence is a solace. But all this was Mrs. Breton to me. All this she had ever been. Food or drink never pleased me so well as when it came through her hands. This is like the most motherly figure that we've ever heard Lucy talk about, and she didn't recognize her. Then again, Lucy doesn't talk about her actual parents, so because that's none of our business. I do not remember the occasion when her entrance into a room had not made that room cheerier. Our nature's own predilections and antipathies alike are strange. There are people from whom we secretly shrink, whom we would personally avoid, though reason confesses that they are good people. There are others with faults of temper, etc., evident enough, beside whom we live content, as if the air about them did us good. My godmother's lively black eye and clear brunette cheek, her warm prompt hand, her self-reliant mood, her decided bearing, were all beneficial to me as the atmosphere of some salubrious climate. Her son used to call her the old lady. It filled me with pleasant wonder to note how the alacrity and power of 25 still breathed from her and around her. I like that, the self-reliant mood. Because when we're anxious children, we're always looking at the adults around us like, it's my fault that's happening. It's my fault that person's mad. Like, Mrs. Breton's mood, it's got nothing to do with you. She's dealing with her own day. I think that's where Lucy feels safe. But she knows that they don't know that, I guess. I don't know. It's very interesting. But we're here for the lesbians, so let's just read through this boring piece of shit until we get back to Ginevra Fanshawe, the one we're really here for. I would bring my work here, she said, as she took from me the empty teacup, and sit with you the whole day if that overbearing John Graham had not put his veto upon such a proceeding. Now, mamma, said he, when he went out, take notice you are not to knock up your goddaughter with gossip. And he particularly desired me to keep close to my own quarters, and spare you my fine company. I meant that to just be making fun of his voice, but it got out of hand. I really have to control myself better, said Mrs. Breton, confusingly. He says, Lucy, he thinks you have had a nervous fever, judging from your look. Is that so? My throat stopped hurting today, but now it's hurting again. Question marks. I replied that I did not quite know what my ailment had been, but that I had certainly suffered a good deal, especially in mind. Further on this subject, I do not consider it advisable to dwell, for the details of what I had undergone belonged to a portion of my existence in which I never expected my godmother to take a share. Into what a new region would such a confidence have led that hale, serene nature? The difference between her and me might be figured by that between the stately ship, cruising safe on smooth seas, with its full complement of crew, a captain gay and brave, and venturous and provident, and the lifeboat, which most days of the year lies dry and solitary in an old dark boathouse, only putting to sea when the billows run high in rough weather, when cloud encounters water, when danger and death divide between them the rule of the great deep. No, the Louisa Breton never was out of harbour on such a night, and in such a scene. Her crew could not conceive it. So the half-drowned lifeboat man keeps his own counsel and spins no yarns. Oh, no, my voice will be fine. My voice will be fine. I just, Wait, did I do exactly the same thing last week? I think I did. Oh, well. Couldn't happen 3 times. But that's such a... I don't know, the book is just full of these beautiful and interesting ways to describe what it's like to live with high intelligence and deep depression, like as a baseline. That's okay, Jesse. I'll stop when I think that it's getting, faint, that it's not working. I've got some Strepsil spray. I've got some special lozenges. Fine. But I won't be silly about it. You are very welcome, Evelyn. I wanted to introduce everyone to this. Because Lucy, she lives with this depression. She lives with anxiety. She lives with, well, she doesn't know that she's gay because she doesn't know it's a thing, but she lives with that. And she knows other people are different. So you get these beautiful little things like, this is the great ship that is Mrs. Breton. And me, I am half drowned in a lifeboat. And she rescued me. But she is going to have no idea if I try and tell her about my experience. It makes me feel really, really sad for Charlotte Bronte. Oh, bullshit. You're all caring about my sexy voice. Because you want me to say erotic things in it. You filthy buggers. I always heard that, people only want one thing. I didn't know it was that. Strange. I am still weaning off the Diet Pepsi, but these were the ones that were in the fridge. And the cold feels really nice. Anyway, forging on. She left me, and I lay in bed content. It was good of Graham to remember me before he went out. He's your doctor, Lucy. My day was lonely, but the prospect of coming evening abridged and shared it. Then, too, I felt weak, and rest seemed welcome. And after the morning hours were gone by, those hours which always bring, even to the necessarily unoccupied, a sense of business to be done, of tasks waiting fulfillment, a vague impression of obligation to be employed. When this stirring time was past and the silent descent of afternoon hushed housemaid steps on the stairs and in the chambers, I then passed into a dreamy mood, not unpleasant. It should get me trespassed from the country. That's what that Australian accent should do. It should get me onto like Jeremy Kyle, where the former head teacher who I based part of the accent on can be like, I'm still alive. She'll come on and berate me. What about my voice is funny to you? God, it was always funny. Anyway, my calm little room seemed somehow like a cave in the sea. There was no colour about it except that white and pale green, suggestive of foam and deep water. The blanched cornice was adorned with shell-shaped ornaments, and there were white mouldings like dolphins in the ceiling angles. Even that one touch of colour visible in the red satin pincushion bore affinity to coral. Even that dark, shining glass might have mirrored a mermaid. When I closed my eyes, I heard a gale, subsiding at last, bearing upon the house front like a setting swell upon a rock base. I heard it drawn and withdrawn far, far off, like a tide retiring from a shore of the upper world. A world so high above that the rush of its largest waves, the dash of its fiercest breakers could sound down in this submarine home, only like murmurs and a lullaby. Okay, I know I said that I should stop talking about the book itself and just read it, but it's that one paragraph, and it's talking about the sea and the tide and the crashing and everything, but all the language and the rhythm and everything about it, it is hypnotic and it is dreamy and it is, Who are you? I'm Lucy Snow. Why don't you shut the fuck up and tell my story? This is not a good development, you guys. Thank you, Evelyn. Why, next time I may even have googly eyes. Amidst these dreams came evening, and then Martha brought a light. With her aid, I was quickly dressed, and stronger now than in the morning, I made my way down to the Blue Saloon unassisted. I laughed too. I didn't know I was going to do that. This is my time. Dr. John, it appears, had concluded his round of professional calls earlier than usual. His form was the first object that met my eyes as I entered the parlour. He stood in that window recess opposite the door, reading the close type of a newspaper by such dull light as closing day yet gave. The fire shone clear, but the lamp stood on the table unlit, and tea was not yet brought up. Okay, good. It makes the actual chapters are very short if you read it or listen to an audiobook, but you just get a few DVD extras with me. As to Mrs. Breton, my active godmother, who I afterwards found had been out in the open air all day, lay half reclined in her deep cushioned chair, actually lost in a nap. Her son, seeing me, came forward. I noticed that he trod carefully not to wake the sleeper. He also spoke low. His mellow voice never had any sharpness in it. Modulated as at present, it was calculated rather to soothe than startle slumber. This is a quiet little chateau, he observed after inviting me to sit near the casement. I don't know whether you may have noticed it in your walks, though indeed from the chaussee it is not visible. Just a mile beyond the Porte de Crécy, you turn down a lane which soon becomes an avenue, and that leads you on, through meadow and shade to the very door of this house. It is not a modern place, but built somewhat in the old style of the Basse Ville. It's the area they're in at the moment, isn't it? No, it's La Basse Cour. That's the area they're in, which I think is invented as well. It is rather a manoir than a chateau. Rather a manor than a chateau. They call it La Terrasse, the terrace, because its front rises from a broad turfed walk, whence steps lead down a grassy slope to the avenue. See yonder, the moon rises. She looks well through the tree boles. Oh, they call it La Terrasse because that's what the house is called. Where indeed, Lucy starts thinking, where indeed does the moon not look well? Where is the scene, confined or expansive, which her orb does not hallow? Rosy or fiery, she mounted now above a not distant bank. Even while we watched her flushed ascent, she cleared to gold, and in very brief space floated up stainless into a now calm sky. Did moonlight soften or sadden Dr. Bretton? Did it touch him with romance? I think it did. Albeit of no sighing mood, he sighed in watching it, sighed to himself quietly. No need to ponder the cause or the course of that sigh. I knew it was wakened by beauty. I knew it pursued Ginevra. There's a really beautiful song from my youth that I think describes how Lucy's feeling, and the lyrics are incredible. They go like, think twice before you touch a my girl. And that's always stuck with me. Yeah. I was listening to that today. My iPod. Slaps. I love it. I knew it pursued Ginevra. Knowing this, the idea pressed upon me that it was in some sort my duty to speak the name he meditated. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They all were. New metal. Time travel. To speak the name he meditated. Of course, he was ready for the subject. I saw in his countenance a teeming plenitude of comment, question, and interest, a pressure of language and sentiment, only checked, I thought, by a sense of embarrassment how to begin. To spare him this embarrassment was my best, indeed my sole use. I had but to utter the idol's name, and love's tender litany would flow out. I had just found a fitting phrase. You know that Miss Fanshawe is gone on a tour with the Chumleys. A beautiful phrase. And was opening my lips to speak it when he scattered my plans by introducing another theme. The first thing this morning, said he, putting his sentiment in his pocket, turning from the moon and sitting down, I went to the Rue Fossette and told the cuisinière that you were safe and in good hands. The cook. Do you know I actually found that she had not yet discovered your absence from the house? She thought you safe in the great dormitory. With what care must you have been waited on? It's school holidays there. You can kind of get it. Oh, all that is very conceivable, said I. Goton could do nothing for me but bring me a little tisane and a crust of bread. A tisane is like a tea, basically. And I had rejected both so often during the past week that the good woman got tired of useless journeys from the dwelling-house kitchen to the school dormitory, and only came once a day at noon to make my bed. Believe, however, that she is a good-natured creature, and would have been delighted to cook me côtelettes de mouton if I could have eaten them. I don't know what a côtelette is. I assume it is a kind of trouser that resembles a skirt. De mouton, that's easy, of lamb. So it's some kind of trousers made of lamb. Potion. Tisane. Yeah, tisane and potion. Yeah, that's better. A potion. A pick-me-up? That's always alcoholic. A hot toddy? Oh. Good girl. Flora also wanted to yell outside. And then Dr. John's like, what did Madame Beck mean by leaving you alone? Madame Beck could not foresee that I should fall ill. Your nervous system bore a good share of the suffering. I am not quite sure what my nervous system is, but I was dreadfully low-spirited, which disables me from helping you by pill or potion. Medicine can give nobody good spirits. My art halts at the threshold of hypochondria. Fuck you, Dr. John. Fuck you, Dr. John. Sorry. It's just kind of an instinctive thing to a male doctor telling a woman she's a hypochondriac. My art halts at the threshold of hypochondria. She just looks in and sees a chamber of torture, but can neither say nor do much. Cheerful society would be of use. You should be as little alone as possible. You should take plenty of exercise. We've come such a long way with mental health. Oh, have we? Fuck you, Dr. John. That's my last one. Acquiescence and a pause followed these remarks. They sounded all right, I thought, and bore the safe sanction of custom and the well-worn stamp of use. Miss Snow, recommenced Dr. John. Hello, Miss Snow. You are the Dr. John of my life. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You gonna see the people? Floridora? Florabella? Sit down so I can get the book out. Oh. She's not sitting down. You're gonna sit. Yeah, you gotta move your foot for that to be put. What are you doing? It's her book now, yeah. She's coiled herself around me in some kind of Lovecraftian set of. I can't say angles because cats don't really have them, but I think Esha could have drawn what she's doing at the moment. Miss Snow, recommenced Dr. John, my health, nervous system included, being now somewhat to my relief, discussed and done with. Is it permitted me to ask what your religion now is? Are you a Catholic? I looked up in some surprise, as might we all, remembering Lucy's intense, kind of unhinged hatred of Catholicism. I looked up in some surprise. A Catholic? No. Why suggest such an idea? The manner in which you were consigned to me last night made me doubt. I consigned to you. But indeed, I forget. It remains yet for me to learn how I fell into your hands. Why? Under circumstances that puzzled me. I had been in attendance all day yesterday on a case of singularly interesting and critical character, the disease being rare and its treatment doubtful. I saw a similar and still finer case in a hospital in Paris, but that will not interest you. Fuck you, Dr. John. Last one. At last, in mitigation of the patient's most urgent symptoms, acute pain is one of its accompaniments, liberated me, and I set out homeward. My shortest way lay through the Basse Ville, and as the night was excessively dark, wild, and wet, I took it. And riding past an old church belonging to a community of Béguines, religious women? Béguines, no, I learned about this. They were a community of religious women who were not nuns, They were lay women, usually widows, who didn't actually want to take the vows, but did, want to live in a house and not on the road. I guess wiki it. Man, it was a long time ago. I was at uni. And riding past an old church belonging to a community of begging, I saw by the lamp burning over the porch or deep arch of the entrance a priest lifting some object in his arms. The lamp was bright enough to reveal the priest's features clearly, and I recognized him. He was a man that I have often met by the sick beds of both rich and poor, and chiefly the latter. He is, I think, a good old man, far better than most of his class in this country. Superior indeed in every way, better informed, as well as more devoted to duty. Our eyes met, he called on me to stop. What he supported was a woman, fainting or dying. I alighted. This person is one of your countrywomen, he said. Save her if she is not dead. Nice of him. My countrywoman, on examination, turned out to be the English teacher at Madame Beck's pensionnat. She was perfectly unconscious, perfectly bloodless, and nearly cold. And by nearly cold, he means nearly dead. Bloodless? Just a descriptive thing. Unless there are vampires as well as ghosts. What does it all mean? Was my inquiry. He communicated a curious account that you had been to him that evening at confessional, that your exhausted and suffering appearance, coupled with some things that you had said. Things that I had said. I wonder what things. We remember, but I don't remember. But YouTube remembers. Awful crimes, no doubt, but he did not tell me what. There, the seal of the confessional checked his garrulity and my curiosity. Your confidences, however, had not made an enemy of the good father. It seems he was so struck and felt so sorry that you should be out on such a night alone. He had esteemed it a Christian duty to watch when you quitted the church, and so to manage as not to lose sight of you till you should have reached home. Perhaps the worthy man might, half unconsciously, have blent in this proceeding some little of the subtlety of his class. It might have been his resolve to learn the locality of your home. Did you impart that in your confession? Do not know what he's implying here. The priest is a burglar or worse. But I don't like it. I did not. On the contrary, I carefully avoided the shadow of an indication. And as to my confession, Dr. John, I suppose you will think me mad for taking such a step, but I could not help it. I suppose it was all the fault of what you call my nervous system. I cannot put the case into words, but my night and days were grown intolerable. A cruel sense of desolation pained my mind, a feeling that would make its way, rush out, or kill me. Like, and this you will understand, Dr. John, the current which passes through the heart, and which, if aneurysm or any other morbid cause obstructs its natural channels, seeks abnormal outlet. I wanted companionship. I wanted friendship. I wanted counsel. I could find none of these in closet or chamber, so I went and sought them in church and confessional. As to what I said, it was no confidence, no narrative. I have done nothing wrong. My life has not been active enough for any dark deed, either of romance or reality. All I poured out was a dreary, desperate complaint. Oh. Thank you, John, for making the priest less creepy to us, but also more creepy. He doesn't know who he's dealing with. Oh, The chapter's over really soon. I'm sorry that I'm slurring my words a little bit and losing the ends of them. But yeah, the chapter's nearly done. Don't worry about it. Why is it every time it starts to feel better, I do one of these videos and then it hurts again? No one actually knows. She would be like the Elizabeth Wurtzel of whatever. Of the 18 whatevers. Lucy, you ought to travel for about 6 months. Why, your calm nature is growing quite excitable. Confound Madame Beck. Has the little buxom widow no bowels to condemn her best teacher to solitary confinement? Interesting statement from the doctor, but it was not Madame Beck's fault, said I. It is no living being's fault, and I won't hear anyone blamed. Who is in the wrong then, Lucy? Me, Dr. John, me. And a great abstraction on whose wide shoulders I like to lay the mountains of blame they were sculpted to bear. Me and fate. Oh, Lucy, I love you. Me must take better care in future, said Dr. John, smiling, I suppose, at my bad grammar. Change of air, change of scene. Those are my prescriptions, pursued the practical young doctor. But to return to our muttons, Lucy. As yet, Père Silas, Father Silas, with all his tact, they say he is a Jesuit, is no wiser than you choose him to be. For instead of returning to the Rue Fossette, your fevered wanderings, in high fever. No, Dr. John, the fever took its turn that night. Now don't make out that I was delirious, for I know differently. Good. You were as collected as myself at this moment, no doubt. Fuck you, Dr. John. Fuck you. She knows what happened. Your wanderings had taken an opposite direction to the pensionnat. Near the Béguinage, taking a guess at some of these words, amidst the stress of flood and gust, and in the perplexity of darkness, you had swooned and fallen. The priest came to your succour, and the physician, as we have seen, supervened. Between us, we procured a fiacre and brought you here. Taxi. Just think of it as a taxi. Père Silas, old as he is, would carry you upstairs and lay you on that couch himself. He would certainly have remained with you till suspended animation had been restored, and so should I, but at that juncture a hurried messenger arrived from the dying patient I had scarcely left. The last duties were called for, the physician's last visit and the priest's last rite. Extreme unction could not be deferred. Père Silas and myself departed together. My mother was spending the evening abroad. We gave you in charge to Martha, leaving directions which it seems she followed successfully. Now, are you a Catholic? Of course, that's the point of this story. Not yet, said I with a smile. And never let Père Silas know where I live, or he will try and convert me. Good one, John. You know. But give him my best and truest thanks when you see him, and if ever I get rich, I will send him money for his charities. See, Dr. John, your mother wakes. You ought to ring for tea. Extreme unction, is that a mystery to anybody? It's the last rites with Catholics. They turn up at your house or your hospice or whatever, and then the priest takes out his little witchcraft kit and he gives you a little bit of wine and a little bit of a cracker, even though you're dying, because you got to walk to Jesus' house. And he does a spell on you to make you not die, but then you actually do die. But then in another, more different way, you don't because of the spell. and you walk all the way to heaven on a sip of wine and a biscuit. And that is the truest miracle of the God, I believe. I will be teaching online classes beginning now. I think that's what they do. Yeah, they carry it around in a briefcase, and then if they drop it on the train, they go, "Oh no, my business, my business," because Jesus is a secret. So you have to pretend that you're just a businessman. Oh no, my business, I dropped my business. You can never tell anyone that you have Jesus and spells in your briefcase. Sorry, we're quite near the end of the chapter. Your mother wakes, you ought to ring for tea. Tea. Which he did. And as Mrs. Bretton sat up, astonished and indignant at herself for the indulgence to which she had succumbed, and fully prepared to deny that she had slept at all, her son came gaily to the attack. "Hush-a-bye, mamma. Sleep again. You look the picture of innocence in your slumbers." "My slumbers, John Graham? What are you talking about? You know I never do sleep by day. It was the slightest doze possible." "Exactly. A seraph's gentle lapse, a fairy's dream. Mamma, under such circumstances you always remind me of Titania." "That is because you yourself are so like Bottom." "Miss Snow, did you ever hear anything like mamma's wit? She is a most sprightly woman of her size and age." "Keep your compliments to yourself, sir, and do not neglect your own size, which seems to me a good deal on the increase. Lucy, has he not rather the air of an incipient John Bull? He used to be as slender as an eel, and now I fancy in him a sort of heavy dragoon bent, a beef-eater tendency. Graham, take notice. If you grow fat, I disown you." A lot of things used to be fun to joke about that, well, people used to think were fun to joke about. As if you could not sooner disown your own personality. I am indispensable to the old lady's happiness, Lucy. She would pine away in green and yellow melancholy if she had not my 6 feet of iniquity to scold. It keeps her lively. It maintains the wholesome ferment of her spirits. I kind of like the way that Dr. John and his mother just rip the shit out of each other all the time. It really plays up. Yeah, right up to like 12, 15 years ago. And also still today, except in business in the briefcase and mushrooms in the brain. That's what Catholicism is, I think. I like how they snipe at each other like this in a very loving way because they feel very safe with each other. And it really underscores the fact that Lucy is an outsider here, you know. Lucy has never felt that safety where she can just tell someone they're a piece of shit, but they know that she loves them and they'll tell her that back and she won't take it personally because it's all a lot of fun. Yeah. Talk shit without fear of hit. Exactly. Exactly. Woohoo! What about fear of bit? She knows I can't reach her. The two were now standing opposite to each other, one on each side the fireplace. Their words were not very fond, but their mutual looks atoned for verbal deficiencies. At least, the best treasure of Mrs. Bretton's life was certainly casketed in her son's bosom. Her dearest pulse throbbed in his heart. As to him, of course, another love shared his feelings with filial love, And no doubt, as the new passion was the latest born, so he assigned it in his emotions. Benjamin's portion. Ginevra, Ginevra. Did Mrs. Bretton yet know at whose feet her own young idol had laid his homage? Would she approve that choice? I could not tell, but I could well guess that if she knew Miss Fanshawe's conduct towards Graham, her alternations between coldness and coaxing, and repulse and allurement, if she could at all suspect the pain which she had tried him, if she could have seen, as I had seen, his fine spirits subdued and harassed, his inferior preferred before him, his subordinate made the instrument of his humiliation, then Mrs. Bretton would have pronounced Ginevra imbecile, or perverted, or both. Well, I thought so too. That second evening passed as sweetly as the first, more sweetly indeed. We enjoyed a smoother interchange of thought. Old troubles were not reverted to. Acquaintance was better cemented. I felt happy, easier, more at home. That night, instead of crying myself asleep, I went down to dreamland by a pathway bordered with pleasant thoughts. And that is the end of the chapter. I like that Lucy sees this, this mother and son who just adore each other, and thinks, yeah, but wait till she finds out about Ginevra. She's gonna hate that bitch as much as I do and want to marry her. Want Dr. John to not marry her. She wouldn't want to marry Ginevra. Like, a lady couldn't marry a lady, and if you did, it wouldn't be Ginevra Fanshawe, and the way she smells certainly isn't a factor in that. But it's like she can't see this happiness without thinking, yeah, but there's clouds on the horizon. And I get that. When I see like really old couples walking together, I just think, fuck you guys. Oh, you're both alive. Whoa, good for you. Thank you guys so much. The old couples thing is because I'm a Highlander, and yeah, my husband got like super old and I couldn't grow old with him. So even though he actually wasn't a Highlander, I pretended that I thought he was and cut his head off. And I thought, like, it's merciful, it's the best way. And he was like, 42 isn't old. And I was like, anyway. We need to have some dinner now, don't we? You want to have some dinner? You want to have some anger? Thank you guys for being here. I will see some of you tomorrow for D&D. And wait, no. Yeah, tomorrow. And yeah, thanks so much for being here. It was really good. And I'm reminded of why I enjoy Villette so much. So thanks. Be good to each other. Jessie, get some sleep. Cannot imagine how late it must be for you. Wash your hands. Be good to each other. And good night. See you later. End the stream. Do it properly this time.